Let me
Okay.
go live. And we are live. Hey, friends, welcome. This is another interview in my series, In Response Interviews with Intriguing Internalizers. Hello, my name is Mia Park, and I am based in Chicago, Illinois, and I have had the honor and the joy of speaking with my family and friends from all over the universe about what kind of internal response they're having to this very demanding external world. So, right now, to put context in this, it is September 4th, 2020 on planet Earth. So, we're dealing with this COVID pandemic. And especially here in America, we're dealing with the pandemic of racial injustice. So, I think that hearing people's voices and their kind of deep soul responses to what's going on is even more important now. So, I am very especially excited to introduce my longtime friend, Brad Eller, coming at us from Austin, Texas. Hi, Brad.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Good to see
So,
you. Good to be here. Yeah.
yay, good to see you. And I'm so glad you're here too. Yay, Brad. Brad and I met through doing martial arts in Chicago in the 90s. Remember the 90s, Brad?
Yeah, it's
It was
hazy.
a
It's
minute ago.
hazy. Yeah,
It's,
we were
I
doing
know, I
it.
know it too.
Yeah.
We
I
were
met
doing
you
it. Yes.
I met you at a kung fu competition. I think I was competing, you were not. You were spectating.
Correct.
But you were practicing
I
still.
Oh, yeah, I was definitely practicing, but I got over trying to fight with people in front of other people, like, as a child growing up, because, we did Korean martial arts growing up, so I didn't have a choice. So I don't ever need to do that again. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to Brad. So Brad is a dear friend, but also really interesting, I think, because Brad, you've always had the ability. You are a very hard worker, and you're a self-made person, but you also have a design background. So you've got this artistic aesthetic and this sense of how people feel when they look at things and that connection. But also, you are a musician and you've always been working on music through the digital platforms. I mean, since I met you in the
Right.
90s, which was like to me super cutting edge. Like, I remember being like, you make music pushing these buttons and turning these knobs live. Like, I don't understand because I'm a drummer. I'm like, hit the drum, there's a sound. You're
Right.
like, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. So, anyway, so you have a lot of uh, projects going on, and your mind can work in different levels at the same time. And right now, you've got a really cool house music band called Glass Slipper out of
Correct.
Austin. And I know
Yeah.
you're dropping singles, and you during the pandemic, you've been doing some really cool live DJ shows on the internet. So that's just a little background about Brad for people. Is there anything you'd like people to know about you?
Um, yeah, no, I have my background's in art. Now I work at some big tech company. Somehow that happened. Yeah, I make dance music. I just bought a house a couple years ago here in Austin, Texas. Um, yeah, and I have a German Shepherd and I have a girlfriend. There you go.
Yay!
And she just
And that's
moved in.
just
She just moved in. So there you go.
yeah, that's congratulations. That's
The
wonderful.
dog has always lived with me. Yeah, yeah,
The dog's part of the deal.
that's right.
So let's hear more about what the outside world is to you. And then after that, we'd love to hear what your internal response is to that outside world you're defining for us, please.
Yeah, well, we kind of talked about this just a little before we went live. And, I'm always paying attention to, I'm a news junkie. Let's just say that. I'm just always reading the news and listening to podcasts, and I'm on Reddit and all these various spots. Just, I don't know why. I just have to know what's going on. And right now, just the focus is absolutely on the the protests, the unrest, the violence, the conflict here in North America, um, in cities like Kenosha. Portland's been going on for months, and now Rochester, right? In reaction to the the shooting in Rochester just a couple days ago. Um, So yeah, that's my focus right now. That's what's going on externally. Uh, and I've always been interested in these different groups that are fighting, whether they are on the left or the right, and what are their reasons, and what does this mean for me, and the people that I'm responsible for. Am I in danger? Do I need to be prepared? Do I need to freak out? Or, how do I put that all into perspective? Because we have a pandemic, we have a lot of violence on the streets, and we're in an election year. So it's like the perfect storm. And people are talking about it. Talk about it with my girlfriend all the time. Like, dude, what's going to happen in the next few months? Like, okay, so if Trump wins, this will happen. If he doesn't win, this will happen. Like, oh, snap, what's gonna happen? Yeah.
You can say shit.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big oh shit moment. So that's what's happening to me externally. It's just processing what's going on. Did you want me to talk about now internally how I deal with that, or
Sure.
or externally how I'm dealing with that?
Now let's hear what's deep diving inside of you.
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for that yet. Internally, my mindset is to be prepared for the worst, but stay rational, stay grounded. Don't go full prepper. So being able to separate my security concerns with being able to enjoy the rest of my life. It's really easy to be manipulated by all the news I'm watching, all the messaging. A lot of times I'll just watch videos on Reddit with no context. And it's really easy for your emotions to get away with you, whether it's like, whatever its political spectrum it is. It's really easy to just get so emotional and be like, and get angry, and get irrational. So I try to just remember that, just have faith in humanity, and yeah. Maybe ask me some more
So
questions to
sure.
keep my mind, keep my thoughts going on that.
Absolutely. So I wonder, first of all, you're a smart guy. And I do feel like it could be a challenging scenario when you have a smart person reading all the crazy ass news that's out there today, because smart people rely on their intellectual prowess to inform what's going on. So, and then I feel like I feel like you do these things that are like in a loop a little bit, and I don't mean to judge you at all. I'm just observing, like, oh, the world's just doing this right now, and I need to prepare for it, but I need to keep rational because the world's doing this now. But because I'm rational, I'm going to listen to the news and da da da. So, do you have any observation about that kind of like process?
Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, it's sort of like a parallel thing. It's like, um, I guess it's a balance. And that's what I've always, not always, that's what I've been striving for a number of years now, is balance. And I'm sure a lot of your other guests have talked about this too, just having a balanced life, when, whether you're talking about, mental versus physical, or, partying versus self-care, whatever it is. Yeah, just trying to balance out, uh, what happens if the looting rioters come to my neighborhood and try to do this home invasion. That will never happen. But playing out those extreme scenes in my mind, and then balancing that with, dude, people are basically good. There's a few crazy people out there, really bad people out there. But again, people are getting swept up in this shit. But they're not all out to get you.
That what you just said sounds like the result of balancing, which is great. What were you going to say?
Well, also, it's really easy to get swept up in the moment of now when you're watching the news and you're trying to get the new stuff all the time. Um, I'm looking at timestamps. I'm like, it's 2 hours old. Nah, screw it. But it's really important to understand what's happened in the United States, in the last, in the 20th century, that this shit's nothing. There's nothing new about this violence or this division, this sectarian conflict. I mean, in the 70s, we had, thousands of bombs going off every year by left-wing groups like Weather Underground, M19, all these guys. 80s had all these right-wing groups doing dirt. 90s had eco-terrorism. Like there's this stuff's been going on for a long time. We've been hating each other for a long time. So none of this is new, which is almost, I know that sounds weird, but it's almost a relief. Like, no, we're not at like this crazy breaking point that we've never been at. Think about 1969, 1970, the anti-war movement. This country was coming apart at the seams, man. I mean, so it's nothing new that we can't handle. It just seems like it's really extreme right now.
Wow,
so I think, yeah, just got to put it in perspective of history. Is what I'm trying to say.
I really appreciate that, Brad. Seriously. Like, I think as someone who is a smart person who does pay attention to the news, then you can have that informed observation. And I think it's very helpful to hear that, because you're right. It's like people being people, and especially as like Americans, we've done this kind of civil unrest experience before, which gives me two questions. I'll let you choose which one. The red pill or the blue pill, Brad. So I'll let you choose which question to go for. Okay. So my first question is kind of more internal for you as far as technique. Like, what do you do to balance? How do you balance? But the other one is a little more towards the racial injustice pandemic. And you're in Austin, so I don't know what the scene like is there on the ground these days. So those are two kind of very different questions.
Yeah, I'll go with the internal. We mentioned I'm in recovery. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and step 11 is prayer and meditation. So I'm really good at the prayer. Not so good at the meditation, but I'm working on it. So I think the whole step 11 is we seek through prayer and meditation to attain a conscious contact with God. I slaughtered that, but it's basically what that is. Hope my sponsor's not watching. But the prayer would be like your morning prayer. I usually say the serenity prayer, which is basically like saying, help me. I don't control shit. So help me realize that I don't control any of this shit. But the stuff that I do control, let me understand what I can do, to improve things, to, that kind of thing. And then the nightlies would be, reflect on my day. Have I hurt anybody? Was there something maybe I could have done better, more skillfully? Do I need to make an amend to anybody? Do I need to apologize, for waking up my girlfriend in the middle of the night because I talk in my sleep all the time? And also just to be thankful, like, man, thanks for a great day. Thanks for letting me do this thing right. And I did this. I did this one thing. I'm proud of the way I handled this situation, and let me keep doing it that way. And then in during the day, if I start getting flustered or angry, or start getting an extreme emotion. You know, emotions are great. It's the extremes that is where I personally get in trouble. So if I find myself getting in that headspace, I'll, you know, take some deep breaths and I'll do that serenity prayer again or whatever, or you know, the first few lines, because if I'm starting to get real pissed off, you know, I can only do a couple words. Yeah, that I think I might have meandered from your question, but did that sort of
No,
answer it?
that's actually very helpful. And, you know, and we've been good friends for a long time. So I'm so proud of you for continuing on your journey for self-development and just trying to improve yourself as a human being. So, because when you or any individual, I believe, wholeheartedly works at improving themselves, you are naturally improving your environment. You know, I
Mm,
believe you can't not. So if you're working so hard on yourself to become the best human being you can be, that affects your girlfriend, that affects your coworkers, that influences your relationship with your dog even, and it lifts everyone up. You know what they say, like you have to raise the ocean for all the ships to rise. So thank you for that, Brad. And it doesn't sound easy.
Um, no, I mean, it's constant. You have to I have to pay attention all the time. You know, some of it after a while, some of it gets to be a little more natural. Like I used to be really judgmental. So easy for me to like, you know, just make fun of people. I mean, in my mind, you know, just, you know, so people thought I was still a nice guy, but really I was critiquing the fuck out of everybody, you know, and just judging everybody. And, you know, um, let's just take that judgment as an example. Now, maybe I'm just like half as judgmental. It's coming easier for me to say, hey, you don't need to be thinking about that other person or criticizing that other person. Stop doing, you know, that's coming a little more naturally to me now. Um, I think it's that repetition and consistency and just and time. It's like none of it's overnight, which is kind of a bummer, you know. We're so used to taking pills to make things just go away. But yeah, got to stay on it. Got
Got
to
to
stay on it.
stand it. Thanks again for that. I think that you're right. The consistency is what's important. And when we talked about like the cycle of humanity and how just like people go crazy as a collective. I mean, you talked about a history that was only 50 years ago, right? 50 plus
Yeah.
years ago about the civil unrest and how the world's just like so crazy right now. Um, I think as a species, we just have to keep at it. Like, I wish we could all set that example, take that example of what you're saying. Just like, it's not a pill. And we think it's a pill, it's not sustainable because then you're taking that pill forever. You know, it's about the slow, consistently driving forward of just trying to improve, right? Oof. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just noticed our time's almost up. So yeah.
Yeah, I just want to, yeah, we can go a little over because I wanted to bring in your musicianship. And you have been someone who has been always creating music, like all the time. So I'm wondering how the world right now, is it influencing the way you're making music or the
Yeah,
music you're
yeah.
making?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to give credit to my partner, my musical partner, Lisa Cork Twist, who's our vocalist. You know, I still kind of just make the tracks as I would. You know, I'm not making anything darker or more violent or more this or that. Not really. Um, I'm still trying to write cool chord progressions. You know what I mean? Uh, she, as the not just the vocalist, but as the songwriter, really writing the lyrics and the vocal melody and all that stuff. She's the one who's writing some great stuff. That's, you know, political, but not too on the nose with everything. You know, we just had a big track called Unification Vibration, and you know, you can kind of probably get the gist of that, how we're, you know, we're all one, we're unified, all that groovy stuff. And that did really well. um, yeah, so she's really shaping our sound to reflect what's going on, because she's a news junkie too. When she'll come over to rehearse or record, we do it every week, And first thing we do is talk about, did you read that thing? Oh my God, can you believe he said that? So that's how we
That's
start.
See, that's amazing. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. I think that people meet because there's opportunity in the way in relationships with people. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. So I know we're at time. Can you just take a quick second to talk about how you and Lisa met? Because you guys have such an amazing musical partnership. But I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I was a friend of mine from San Francisco when I used to live there, writes this kind of mm, pop music blog. And Lisa used to be in this Euro dance group called The Real McCoy back in the 90s. They had like Another Night and, all those big kind of Euro dance hits. Yeah. So she's like for real, like done the world tours and all that. Like, wow, she was actually in the music industry when you could make a living off it. Anyway, he interviewed her for his blog. I randomly read the article and I was like, wow, she seems pretty cool. Maybe she'll sing a song for over one of my tracks. Like, I'm nobody. I'm like underground house producer. I emailed her or Facebooked or whatever, and like she immediately got back to me, and she was like, yeah, send me what you got. And or she was like, I was like, hey, how are we going to do this? Do you even have a microphone? Trying to get all the technical stuff. And somehow I was like, where do you live? And she's like, Austin, Texas. And I'm like, dude, I live in Austin, Texas. Oh my God, come over. So kismet is what we like to
Kiss
say.
it,
It was kismet.
exactly. Kismet, you can go, I mean, and then clearly you guys have such a wonderful collaboration. I mean, you've had several tracks. It's been years now, and I really I hope that the discipline that you both have to make music every week together is something that influences everybody. I mean, that's again the discipline is very impressive because that's like you said, takes discipline to do the work, and then you benefit from the work, and then you're judging people less, and then you feel better. Yay!
Yeah, takes your mind off things. Like, hey, I got to go do music. That's what I'm doing right now.
That's
It's a good
awesome.
thing.
It's awesome. Yeah. So, Brad, is there anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Well, just like to say, uh, don't let the information overload ruin your day. Maybe step away if you have to, or put it all in perspective if you need to. Um, you know, November 3rd will come and go. The sun will still rise. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
All right, cool.
And
I
thank you
love
for
the whole.
having me. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. Thank you for being my guest. Brad. It's just a matter of time. I was like, oh yeah, I have to talk. I have to talk to Brad at some point. So
No,
cool.
it's a
Well, we're
great
gonna.
series. Yeah, I've been watching
Oh,
all of them. It's a really great series.
oh my gosh, thanks. It's still. Thank you. Just trying to connect and hopefully give some inspiration for people to hear what other people are thinking and doing. So thanks. And thank you, people, for watching. And when this becomes a podcast, thank you for listening. Again, my name is Mia Park, and this is In Response Interviews with Intriguing Internalizers. And I now have a Patreon page. So if you like supporting this interview series or this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Mia Park or just look at my website, miapark.com. So thanks so much, everybody. Bye, Brad. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.